Daniel had rehearsed this moment the entire drive to the hospital, but nothing prepared him for the crushing weight settling on his chest as he stepped through the sliding doors. The hospital air felt heavy, carrying the faint scent of disinfectant, loneliness, and unanswered questions, an atmosphere that made old wounds sting harder. He had spent years trying to distance himself from everything that reminded him of his failed marriage with Lila, but life had a way of dragging him back to the places he least wanted to revisit. His son, 6-year-old Noah, held his hand tightly. The boy's fingers were small but full of trust, the kind that made Daniel's heart twist with guilt. Noah had Lila's eyes, bright brown, always curious, always searching for something to hold on to. Today, those eyes were clouded with worry. "Dad, will Mom be okay?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Daniel forced his voice into something steady. "She just got a little sick, buddy. We'll go see her, and she'll feel better when she sees you." But inside, he felt the ground shifting. It wasn't just a feeling, it was fear. Real, undeniable fear. They reached the elevator, and Daniel pressed the button with a shaking finger. The doors slid open, and he hesitated for a second, as if stepping in meant stepping deeper into something he wasn't ready to face. But Noah tugged his hand gently, and Daniel followed. The ride felt endless. Memories flashed in rapid motion, Lila laughing in the kitchen, their late-night arguments, their last fight before she slammed the door and said she was done. He'd heard the exhaustion in her voice then, but he never imagined it would lead them here, to this cold building where hearts often broke quietly behind curtains. When they reached the 3rd floor, Noah stepped out first, peeking down the hallway lined with white doors and blue curtains. Daniel followed the room numbers until he found hers, room 315. The door was cracked open. He leaned forward, intending to greet her gently, but then he heard her voice. Weak. Fragile. Nothing like the confident woman he once knew. "I don't want Daniel to know the truth," she whispered. "If he knows, he'll take Noah away from me. He'll start preparing him. And I'm not ready. He's too young." Daniel froze, as if someone had punched all the air out of him. His lungs rebelled, his heart hammered violently against his ribs. He pressed a hand against the frame to steady himself, swallowing hard. His mind raced. Truth? Prepare him? What was she talking about? The doctor's voice followed, calm but serious. "Lila, you can't hide this. He's the father of your child. He deserves to know what's happening." Daniel felt the world tilt. A slow ring filled his ears, drowning out everything else. Lila continued, her voice cracking, "I know. But I can't. I can't bear the thought of Noah growing up without both parents. If Daniel finds out I don't have long left, he'll take him away before I'm ready to let go. I want to spend whatever I have left just being his mom." The word slammed into Daniel with the force of a collapsing building. Don't have long left. Everything inside him shattered. His first instinct was denial. No, this couldn't be happening, not to her, not to Noah. Then came guilt. The kind that dug into his soul like claws. They had wasted so much time fighting, resenting, blaming. And now, time was running out. Noah tugged his sleeve gently. "Dad? When do we go in?" Daniel blinked, wiping at his eyes before his son noticed. "In a minute, buddy. Just a minute." He needed breath. A second. Anything to keep from falling apart in front of Noah. He turned away from the door, leaning against the wall as he tried to breathe through the pain in his chest. His vision blurred. His hands shook. Hearing Lila say she feared he would take Noah away hurt, but not as much as hearing that she didn't have long left. That truth broke him. But the moment Noah's small voice whispered, "I want to see Mom," Daniel found enough strength to pull himself together. For Noah. For Lila. For the family they weren't anymore, but still were somehow. He pushed the door open. Lila's eyes, tired and rimmed with red, widened when she saw him. She tried to smile, but her lips trembled. She saw it in his face, the truth. He had heard everything. Her expression collapsed for a moment before she quickly held Noah close, burying her face in his hair to hide her tears. Daniel watched silently, wishing he could freeze time, wishing he could rewrite every chapter of their past. Noah climbed carefully onto her bed, asking if she wanted water or if he should get a nurse. His innocence made the scene even more heartbreaking. Daniel stood at the foot of the bed, unable to speak, unable to breathe properly. Lila finally looked up at him. The fear in her eyes didn't match the woman he fell in love with years ago, but it matched the woman who had suffered quietly long after he walked away. He swallowed hard. "Hi," he managed. She nodded weakly. "Hi." Nothing more needed to be said, because everything had already changed. Part 2. Noah soon grew distracted with a coloring book the nurse brought, so Daniel gently guided him outside the room with a promise to return in a few minutes. When the door clicked shut, the silence between Daniel and Lila thickened. She looked away, as if embarrassed to meet the eyes of a man who just overheard her deepest fears. Daniel sat down slowly in the chair beside her bed. "How long?" he asked softly. She winced. "Daniel. I didn't want." "How long?" he repeated, voice breaking. Her breath hitched. "They say a few months. Maybe a little more. Maybe less. They're not sure." It spread faster than they expected. Daniel pressed his hands to his face. Pain, regret, memories, everything blurred together. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want you to think I was asking for help," she whispered. "And I didn't want you to feel responsible for me again. We're not us anymore." He shook his head hard. "I didn't need us to be us to care about you, Lila. You're Noah's mother. You're part of his world. And mine. You always will be." Her lips trembled. "I was scared, Daniel. Scared you'd keep Noah from me. Scared you'd pity me. Scared of everything." Daniel's eyes softened with a pain deeper than anger. "I would never take him from you. Never." She swallowed, tears welling. "I know that now. But when you left, everything felt like loss. I didn't want this to be another one." He reached out instinctively, his hand covering hers. It was the first time he'd touched her in years, and the contact sent a wave of emotions crashing through both of them. Her fingers curled around his weakly. "I'm here now," he whispered. "And I'm not going anywhere." She closed her eyes, letting silent tears fall. Her voice shook as she said, "Promise me something. Anything. When I'm gone," she paused, swallowing the word as though it burned, "don't let Noah forget me. Not the bad parts. The good ones. Tell him I loved him more than anything." Daniel's throat tightened. "I'll tell him every day. And he'll know. He already knows." She let out a small breath of relief, as if that promise was the one thing holding her together. "Thank you. For coming. I didn't think you would." "Even after everything," he said gently, "I'll always show up when you need me. I should have shown up sooner." She looked up, surprise flickering through her eyes. Daniel rarely admitted his own failures. "You did your best," she whispered. "We both made mistakes." He shook his head. "We wasted so much time on things that didn't matter." Now, he stopped, the rest too painful to voice. She squeezed his hand weakly. "You're here now. That's what matters." Just then, Noah peeked inside, holding a juice box and wearing an uncertain smile. "Can I sit with you again, Mom?" Daniel lifted him gently onto the bed, helping him settle beside her. Noah nestled into her side, unaware of the storm around him. Lila wrapped an arm around him, resting her chin on his hair, closing her eyes in a way that made Daniel's heart ache. He watched them, trying to memorize the moment. Lila's shaky breaths, Noah's soft humming, the dim room, everything etched itself into him. He didn't know how much time was left. But he knew one thing, he wouldn't let her face any of it alone. Not the fear.